What's up guys, I'm the Viking and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hello! Do you ever have those days when you realise that no matter how hard you try at something, there are some things that you are just inherently bad at? Because I'm having one of those days. Last week I showed that I can play guitar reasonably well, even with a broken hand, and I can do mediocre artwork. But one thing I've always struggled with, and the thing that's currently holding me up on Project Outlaw, is understanding how electronics work. For the longest time I wanted to be a scientist. I was really into chemistry and I wanted to do chemistry at university, but there is one element of science that I'm not very good at, and that is understanding the mathematics. You see, you can put chemicals in front of me and I will quite happily find ways of creating exothermic reactions with them. God, I've done a terrible job of that. The problem comes in understanding the mathematics of how it works. So when I was doing chemistry at A level and they started talking about moles, I was completely lost. I couldn't understand why I was talking about moles in a chemistry lab. If I'd wanted to do biology, I would have done biology. Ha! Ha ha! It's a chemistry joke. Pretty much my entire chemistry career was a chemistry joke. And I really struggled, and I ended up getting an A star in my practical for chemistry, but I got a U in my theory. An A star is the highest you can achieve, and a U is a failure. So practically, I was a really good chemist, but theoretically, I was awful. And I really struggled for my entire school career, really, with maths and maths-based science. You give me a scalpel and a frog to dissect, and I was pretty good at it. You know, you give me an acid and a base, and I will be able to neutralise it physically, but you put those things on paper and my mind just wouldn't go with it. But Mr. Viking, I hear you cry, what has this got to do with motorcycles? Well, I'm currently having to rewire my new switches. And as much as I try, I really struggle with understanding how it works. And it's kind of always been a bit of an embarrassing point for me because my dad is an electrical engineer. So theoretically, I should be really, really good at this. And I'm not. I'm actually pretty bad at it. And no matter how he tries to explain it to me, I get what he's saying, but it just doesn't seem to work in my head. It's like maths. I understand that if I plug cable A into cable B, and there is power to both cables, that will create a circuit, but when I come to actually physically doing it, it doesn't work. But I'm improving, it's something I'm working on, and that's kind of the topic of today's video, is self-improvement, much like it was the topic of last week's video. Unfortunately, there is no self-improvement without sacrifice. It's kind of the point I want to make today, is that it's okay to suck at something. That doesn't make you less of a man, or less of a woman, or less of a person. It just means that you're more inclined for other elements. There we go. So just because you're not very good at chemistry doesn't mean that you're not going to be good at biology. It's perfectly okay not to be Steve Jobs or Albert Einstein. You know, if everybody was focused on having to be good at chemistry, then we wouldn't have Mozart. I need a pair of wire snips, and I don't have any. But at the same time, I do think that as a society, why are you being such a There seems to be this idea that, you know, people are just naturally gifted at certain things, and to an extent that's true, but I would argue that for every person who has a natural ability for something, there is 10% of that natural ability, and then 90% practice and effort and focus and work. One of my favourite shows on television is Mythbusters, and one of the most important lessons that they teach on that show is it's okay to fail. In fact, failure is always an option. When I was younger, I hated that idea. I hated the idea that failure is always something that can happen. But as I've grown up, as I've matured as a human being, I've come to realise that that's actually quite a good message, that it is okay to not succeed. It's okay to suck at something, especially if you're starting out. In fact, I'd argue that it's essential that you suck at something when you start out, because that brings humility and appreciation for what you have. You know, if you automatically succeed at everything and then you don't learn how to be gracious in defeat, or you don't learn how to support people when they are struggling, because you can't empathise with them because you've never struggled yourself, then that kind of makes you a bad human being. And I don't know why this topic has suddenly come into my head. I think probably because I'm failing so much at doing this wiring, as we've seen from this video of me trying and failing to thread a cable through a piece of wire. If only they made this tubing about 1/4 of an inch wider, it would just go through perfect.
2 hours later.
Well, as you can see from the window, it's gone dark outside because it's literally taken me that long to solder 3 wires together. Told you I wasn't good at this sort of thing. And I suppose that's the message I'm trying to put across to you guys at the moment, is it's okay to not be good at stuff. It's okay to want to improve and trying to improve. That's a really good thing. What isn't okay is berating other people for not being good at stuff that you're good at. At least I think that's what I was trying to get across. Guys, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons, let me know I'm on the right track. And next week I think I'm going on an adventure, which should be fun. I've got a trip out planned that I will more than likely bring you along to. Maybe do another in-car vlog, but with better audio than the last one, because the last one was a bit rubbish. But it's something that I'm working on, and something that I'm trying to improve on, and something that I'm trying to improve myself at doing. Much like words, good stuff at speaking. You've made it to the end of the video, so I'm going to give you 700 awesome points because it's a long one this week. Come on then, up here. Come on. Say hello to all the people. You've got gunk on your eye. She's been Yuki. I've been the Viking. As always, you've been awesome. And I will see you next time.